Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be speaking about promises today. And we see an example of a promise in the book of Genesis where the Lord promised Abram to make of him a great nation. I'm going to read from Genesis chapter 12 verse 2. It says, I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. Now when the Lord said this to Abram, his wife Sarah had already been labeled as barren. And we see this in chapter 11 verse 30 where it says, but Sarah was barren and she had no child. Straight away when I read this, I thought, this is an example of a story that is relevant to us today. Barrenness, or having this kind of challenge that Abram and his wife Sarahan, was not limited to Bible time. We see examples of barrenness in our present day life, and it's not limited to a certain region of the world. Neither is it limited to race or to a certain walk of life. Hence, it is relevant to us today. Now, Abram, the Bible records that he was 75 years old when the Lord said this to him. And we know that much later in the book of Genesis, I'm reading from chapter 17, verse 17 here. Abram said, shall a child be born to him that is 100 years old, and shall Sarah, that is 99 years old, bear? So, which suggests to us that he was 100 years old and the wife 99, and so he must have been a year older than Sarah. So if the Lord told Abram this at 75 years old, it means that his wife must have been 74. Now, this is an age where women are not likely to have children, whether in that day or even now. So we can imagine or understand why the people then would have labeled or come to the conclusion that Sarah was barren, which is not beyond what we have or experience today. Again, something relevant to our present day life that we see in the scriptures. Now, some people may say that in those days they do live for much longer. So Abram and Sarah could have had more chances of trying for children. That is certainly true. The only thing is that they would also have had contemporaries that would have had children, maybe even grandchildren at the time they were still trying for children, which according to society would probably have put them even under more pressure. So what Abram did was to go to God. And we can see, I read from chapter 15 verse 3. And Abram said, behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is my heir. As he was praying, he made that sentence to God, and the Lord responded. The Lord responded as an example to show us that when we pray, we should expect a response. This is what the Lord said to him in verse 4. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, this shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thine heir. So not only did the Lord responded, he made it clear to Abram that he would have a child. And the Lord continued to speak. In verse 5, he said, and he brought him forth abroad and said, look now towards heaven, and tell the stars, if thou art able to number them. And he said to him, so shall thy seed be. So this was God speaking to Abraham. And I imagine that Abraham must have felt reassured, because the next verse says that he believed in the Lord, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. Very encouraging, because not only did the Lord guaranteed him or assured him that he would have a child, he also made him to see the extent to which his generations will be. And if I was Abram, I probably would be encouraged. I will be encouraged by that as well, because that statement is loaded and full of assurance. And so Abram was rest assured, and he believed God. An example, a lesson for us here is to go back to God. If God's made a promise to you and it looks as if things are not working out, go back to him. He will say things. He could speak to you through situations, circumstances, or even some people hear voices. Some people it could be through inner witness or through his word, but he will say something to you in response that you have come to him. Let us believe and be confident that he will respond to us when we ask of him. So I will say until next time, search your scriptures for those nuggets, and God bless.